A quick shout out to today's sponsor, Nextiva. If you find yourself switching between a bunch of different apps just to talk to your customers and your team, you need Nextiva, because Nextiva helps you calm the madness of customer and team conversations by giving you just one place to call, text, chat, email and video meet. And the real special thing here is that you'll see the entire conversation history in a single thread. So now when a customer contacts you, you'll see their entire story, so you can say the right thing right now. So get one app to manage all of your customer and team conversations by getting Nextiva. And you can do that by visiting nextiva.com/techtalkdaily. Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, is your inbox bulging because of all those Black Friday and Cyber Monday emails yet? How are your messaging rules holding up? Have you given up on reaching inbox zero? Well, all of this is caused because many businesses and retailers and brands, etc., are in something that is often called the golden crunch point. And as we're all aware, yes, we have entered the time in the year where for the many brands, the majority of their revenue and sales are all made up in this golden quarter, the final 3 months of the year. And they've always been huge. But I think this year it's been amplified with the continued unpredictable headwinds around the cost of living, which is changing consumer confidence, and, of course, the news of a recession. So the crunch point for brands is that, yes, retail sales are expected to be lower this year, especially when consumers are more cautious of what they spend their money on. Ultimately, they still need to make revenue. So today, I've asked Aaron Goldman, CMO of a company called Mediaocean, onto the podcast to go into more details on the 4 must-haves that brands and retailers need for their golden quarter campaigns this year if they are going to successfully entice new and existing customers outside discounts and deals. And obviously, it's a tech podcast, so we're also going to talk about the technology that makes all this possible, and also dive into the world of social media advertising. So buckle up and hold on tight, because no matter where you're listening in the world, I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Chicago, where today's guest is waiting to share all this. And he's got a few surprises up his sleeve too. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. And thanks for having me on, Neil. My name is Aaron Goldman. I lead global marketing for Mediaocean. We're one of the world's largest advertising software companies. So about $200 billion in ad spending flows through our platform, and that's on an annualized basis. Our customers are advertisers and ad agencies, and they use our technology to plan, buy, measure how their ads are doing across all their media channels, from TV to TikTok. So in my role, leading the marketing team, I look after everything from public relations to events and other things that aim to keep Mediaocean top of mind in the industry. And of course, we use our software to run our own ad campaigns promoting our tech solutions. So that's a bit about me. And I suppose I should apologize. I've been listening to podcasts at 1.5x speed. So if I'm talking really fast, you'll know why.
Not at all. And I think you've said you've listened to this show before, so you know what I'm going to ask next. I always like to take my guests back in time. So can you remember where your passion for tech and marketing come from, or how those worlds collided and put you on the path you're on today? Or ultimately, what's your origin story? Because everyone's got one, right?
Yeah. So I think things really clicked for me probably around 20 years old. I was in my final year at university, and I was selling ads for our school newspaper. It was called the Daily Illini. And we had just launched a website, and we were trying to figure out how to make money from it and what the ads would look like. Do we just take the print ads and basically put them on the computer? How do we charge for them? Is it the same price? Do we pay extra if people could click on them, because clicking wasn't an option with ads in the paper? And so I love the idea of having kind of a fresh start with a new medium. I knew instinctively that this internet thing would be here to stay, but it was kind of still to be determined what the model would look like. And to have a hand in helping shape that was really exciting. So when I finished my degree in advertising, I got a job working for an online ad network, which had about 1,000 different websites that we sold ads for. And so over the next 5 years or so, we just tried a bunch of new things, banner ads, pop-up ads, which were found to be truly annoying. So thankfully they're not around anymore. And then, those little blue text links that we now know as Google AdWords. And so fast forward, now 20 more years, online advertising is the most popular form of marketing. And I've worked for different companies that have been using technology to kind of automate that process and just find ways to make the entire industry more efficient.
Love that. And of course, it would be that path that would eventually lead you to Mediaocean, which is described as a mission critical platform for the omnichannel advertising industry. And it is an incredibly crowded industry, though. So can you tell me a little bit more about the company and the kind of problems that help you help your customers solve with technology?
Yes. So if you're an advertiser or an ad agency that works with advertisers, you've got a tough job. There's all these places to reach your audience, consumers. It's across television. Yes, people still watch a lot of TV, but more and more of that is now streaming. And of course, you've got the web and mobile apps. And basically, any screen that captures someone's attention is a place for a brand to put a message. But how do you know which spots are best for your ad and which ones will reach your audience? And what should your ad say? Should you offer a discount or play up some unique aspect of your product or service? And then after the ads run, did someone interact with them? Did they end up buying something? These are all questions ultimately that we solve through our software. So you can go into Mediaocean and set your budget or what audience you're trying to reach. And we'll tell you where to advertise, how much it costs, what creative message to run, and if someone watched your ad and ultimately bought anything from you. And so we call this omnichannel. And ultimately what we mean by that is it's basically being able to do all those different channels and screens that people are using. And I think what's really unique is, some companies are really strong with online advertising, and some specialize in TV or radio or print. And so Mediaocean does it all, and hence the omnichannel aspect. And we like to joke that it also makes us omniscient in that we can, truly see all. And then we make our customers omnipresent in that they can be everywhere. And so as the marketing guy, I love some good wordplay, but that's the idea of omnichannel and where Mediaocean comes in.
Excellent. And one of the reasons I was excited to invite you on the podcast today was after reading how we're currently in the golden quarter, which is often regarded as being the crunch point for retailers and many businesses around the world. But obviously, we're going to have a lot of people that are just techies and business leaders that don't know too much about the marketing or that side of things. So can you just set the scene for our conversation today and tell the listeners outside of the industry exactly what it is?
Sure. The golden quarter typically refers to it's the last 3 months of the year when companies usually make the majority of their revenue. You've got, things that if you're in retail, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and of course, Christmas. These are massive periods for sales. And so this is usually when you see all the big ad campaigns and companies will spend the biggest percentage of their marketing during this time. But this year we're calling the golden quarter the golden crunch because there's just so many challenges that businesses are facing from the economy, whether it's inflation, cost of living, other factors that are hurting consumer confidence, which of course then impacts their willingness to spend. So the question is, how do companies react? What strategies do they take with their marketing during this critical period? How can you use technology to give yourself an edge? And, some companies will look at this time period, this golden quarter, the golden crunch, as maybe a chance to cut back, conserve, reduce marketing budgets and sort of hunker down for the long winter ahead. But for others, it's a chance to maintain or even increase your spending and gain market share and show consumers that you have a brand that is there for them during these challenging times. And ultimately, that's the question that's facing businesses as we head into the end of the year here.
And I suspect for most people listening, their inbox is already beginning to fill up with Black Friday and Cyber Monday emails. So the big question is, what are the must-haves for brands and retailers for this golden quarter campaign this year to ultimately entice new and existing customers outside discounts and deals successfully? Because it's easy to get lost in all that hype of heavily discounting, but sometimes that's the worst thing you can do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this goes back to one of the timeless sort of age-old principles of advertising, and that's ultimately about connecting with your audience on an emotional level.
Yeah.
So yes, deals and discounts are important, but more important is developing empathy between the brand and the customer. And so it's about updating your messaging to reflect the right tone and not just business as usual. Certainly that can and should include clever promotions, pricing discounts, to be sensitive to the fact that people are challenged financially, but also thinking about how you can show that your products maybe help make a difference in people's lives. I love what John Lewis did with its Christmas ad showing a father learning to skateboard so that he can bond with a foster child coming into his home. Those are the things that really tug at your heartstrings and ultimately will stand out in that crowded inbox or television set. And then I'd say the second thing to look at is the channels, right? So making sure you've got the right mix because consumer behavior has changed so much since the beginning of the pandemic. So have you moved to where their attention is? One example is retail websites. More and more people are now shopping online and through apps, even for things like groceries. And now you can buy ads and kind of own that digital shelf space. And also look at streaming TV. You've got Netflix now running ads on a lower cost tier. So thinking about if you have a plan for that. So that kind of the channels is the second big thing. And then the third tip I'd say is using video to get more personal. TikTok is a great example of how you can use short videos to promote your brand, but you can't just put a TV commercial on TikTok. You really have to create bespoke content that fits the format. So using music or influencers and also running a bunch of different ads. So it's not just the same one over and over. And then thinking about how you could potentially use those short videos, not just on TikTok, but of course you've got Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. So video is a big opportunity. And then I'd say the last thing is just to be flexible. So every week it seems like there's some wild news that's disrupting our world, whether it's related to the war in Ukraine, the crypto crash, or the latest idea Elon Musk has for Twitter. And you can't get locked into plans that were created months in advance. You really have to be agile and be ready to move things around as conditions change. And that's not just for the golden quarter. That extends to your planning for 2023 and beyond. I'd say the new normal is constant change. And so marketeers really need to build in flexibility to their plans and use technology to be able to adapt. And in doing that, you can kind of turn what are these challenges that we're seeing with this golden quarter crunch into opportunities.
So many great points in that. And they often say that the pace of technological change and change in general is moving at breakneck speed right now. But the reality is it's never going to move this slow again, right? Because it's just continuously picking up.
Indeed.
Now, another thing that stood out for me before you came on the podcast is with more than $200 billion in annualized media spend managed through your software, Mediaocean has got a reputation for connecting brands, agencies, media, technology, and data. But to bring that to life a little, do you have any examples of how you're helping brands thrive during this golden quarter by uniting all those things, in particular technology and data? Because it's some quite exciting work going on there, isn't there?
Sure. Yes. I think there's a great example with Kimberly Clark, who's one of our customers. They actually just did a webinar with us and shared some of the great work that they're doing. And so they're a consumer goods company and they make products like Kleenex and Kotex and Huggies. So they have to reach a really wide audience across all their products, but each brand itself serves a very specific purpose and customer. And so they need to tell very different messages depending on which product they're promoting. But with all the channels we've talked about to reach consumers and all the things you have to keep in mind, how can you do that in a way that's not completely manual and totally inefficient? And of course, that's where technology and data come into play, and that's where Mediaocean helps. So we have tools that can automatically assemble thousands of different ads in seconds. So you can take your brand assets, might be logos, product images, price information, and then we'll create different combinations to meet the specific formats for each of the different channels, whether it's TikTok, TV, webs, or other apps. And so this is what they had done. It's called dynamic creative optimization, and it ultimately uses AI and machine learning to make decisions about the right combinations. And it's sort of self-learning. So every time one of the ads would run for one of their brands, we would see if people watched it or clicked on it, and then ultimately if they ended up buying something, if there was a purchase. And then we can have the system sort of update and self-learn to create more ads that are more likely to work based on what the data is telling us. So it's really quite powerful. And then you've got the other tools to figure out where the ads should run, and of course, how much you should pay. So you can be very efficient with your ad spending. And of course, there's that element of the built-in flexibility so that you can adjust if needed, turning things on and off, moving things around. You can sort of set rules, if then scenarios, so that if, something happens in the news, it can change the message of your ad, or potentially even take your ad down altogether if you just need to lie low for, an hour, a day, a week. And all of this can be done in real time and set up so that it's not just about being reactive. You can be proactive. And I think there's some excellent opportunities in that, where taking a new and fresh approach to applying technology and data and advertising ultimately can create opportunity out of challenge.
Love that. And I'm curious, there's someone right in the heart of this space. You've seen the same things that happen year on year, and maybe this year is a little bit different. So are there any particular trends you're seeing around things like social advertising at the moment? Is it all about TikTok now, or is there something else going on?
TikTok is definitely gaining momentum. There's never a dull moment in social media. I suppose by the time this episode drops, all of Twitter could have a blue check mark. But I'd say whatever your thoughts are on Elon Musk and what he's doing, there's no question he's brought a new level of energy to the table. And then you've got Mark Zuckerberg building out the metaverse, which I think is an incredible opportunity, if maybe just a bit before its time. I do think the metaverse will be the next massive shift in tech, and frankly have the same impact that the internet did when it first launched 30 years ago. But I think we're probably 20, 30 years away from seeing a metaverse operating at scale. So, that doesn't mean you should sort of sit around and wait until it gets here to figure it out. Whether you're an engineer or an advertiser, I think kind of getting in early on the metaverse will pay dividends down the line. But, you mentioned TikTok, it's certainly growing leaps and bounds. And I think what they've really figured out is how to use the algorithm to keep you sucked in and entertained. All these short form videos, next thing you know, you've been staring at your screen for hours. And it's really hooked the younger generation. So incredible opportunity for brands, for companies who want to reach Gen Z, and Snap, I think, is another big one that's big with that audience. They're continuing to innovate in new ways. And Pinterest, I think, is another interesting platform to look at. They're sort of the anti-social network, in that it really has remained a place for positivity and inspiration. And that certainly bodes well for brands and advertisers. And then you have LinkedIn, which I think is one of the best kept secrets of social, because so many people think of it only as a place for B2B, for business to business. But even though it's a professional network, the people on the platform have personal lives too, and they need products like Kleenex and Kotex. So it can be a great place to advertise. At Mediaocean, we have a product that lets you manage campaigns across all the social platforms, and then build campaigns that are unique to the format of each network. But it's sort of managed in a central way. So you can get that automation and AI in terms of what ad to show and how much to pay. So as things ebb and flow, as the trends come and go, you can adjust your ads and your campaigns to account for those nuances.
And of course, there are so many different futurists and technologists that are all trying to predict what trends are going to dominate next year in 2023. But are there any other tech trends that particularly excite you, or you're just monitoring from afar?
I'd say I'm bullish on Web3, despite the crypto crash. I think the idea of decentralization, token-based economics, I think that makes sense and will take hold over the long term, and that sort of squares up with this idea of the metaverse but again, I think that's not a next year thing. There's going to be a bunch of fits and starts, and right now we're seeing the fits. Short term, though, I think things that are here and gaining adoption, AR, so augmented reality, VR, virtual reality. You're starting to see more use cases for those formats, whether it's virtual shopping, try before you buy, or even in entertainment, gaming, things you can do to create more of an immersive experience. I think we've all got a bit of Zoom fatigue at this point, and we're not quite ready to wear an Oculus headset all the time. So it's about taking the devices that we're currently using, the phones that have massive adoption, and using those to create some of those more immersive experiences that blend the physical and digital world. So those are the things that I think in the near term will have the biggest impact.
Yeah, 100% with you. There's so much talk around Zoom fatigue at the moment. And then if we look around, we can see Amazon, Apple, Google, Facebook, they're all focusing on creating that AR headset, or maybe something that looks a little bit like Google Glass did all those years ago. So it'd be interesting how all that takes shape. But we started the podcast today talking about your origin story, what put you on this path. So as we come full circle, as you look back, what would you say the biggest lessons that you've learned in your career in MarTech? Is there anything that stands out for you?
Well, the first thing I'd say is don't get too comfortable. You not only have to embrace change, but look for ways to create it. When I first got into the business, that online ad network I had mentioned ultimately got bought by Ask Jeeves, and Yahoo was the biggest portal at the time, and then Google came around, and then Facebook, and now TikTok is taking off. So when you look around the current landscape, the players, the platforms that dominate today are unlikely to do so, in another 20, 30 years. But you do have folks like Microsoft that were big before the web and have stayed big, but they've had to continue to reinvent themselves. So it goes back to that point about not being complacent, looking for ways to create change, which is, what Zuckerberg and Facebook are doing with their big bet on the metaverse.
And I suspect you've had a few war stories in your time. So is there any funny or interesting stories that you can share from your career? I'm sure there's a few.
Well, yes, I've had quite a bit of fun over the years, but I'd say nothing beats the live rap battle that I did at an ad tech conference in San Francisco. This was probably 10, 12 years ago at this point, but I staged a rap battle between Mark Zuckerberg and Sergey Brin, who was at the time the CEO of Google. And I sort of went back and forth with each round, changing my shirt and taking on the persona and just kind of making up rhymes about the business. And, it's become a little bit of a party trick now. I've done it at other conferences, not as Zuck and Brin, but just, doing some freestyle, and I've rapped on a bit of podcasts. So, if you want a little taste, I can give it to you, Neil.
Please do, man. Spit me some bars on the Tech Talks Daily podcast.
All right. But here's the thing. We want to make sure that the listeners know this wasn't rehearsed. So give me 3 words to incorporate in, and we can show this is truly improvised.
Oh, well, we'll have to go podcast, technology, marketing. Let's keep it on brand.
Podcast, technology, and marketing. All right. Thank you for not saying orange, because we still haven't figured out anything that rhymes with orange. All right. So podcast, technology, marketing. Got it. Here we go. Yo, it's me, AG, in the place to be. Got to get a little googly. I'm here with Neil, and we on Tech Talks. Now let's see if I can walk the walk. The podcast is coming to you through your ear. Don't you know? Turn it up if you can hear. The technology is bringing to your face these rhymes you cannot erase. I do not rap. I do not sing. I just do a lot of marketing. Hey, it's been fun. I'm about to go. Thanks for having me, Neil. Rock the show.
Wow, man, that is awesome. And after 2,200 interviews, you're the first guy brave enough to come on here and do a little rap. So kudos to you, my friend. Absolutely love that. And the videos that the raps that you've done in the past at events and stuff, is there any video footage of that out there? I've got to ask.
There is, and you can find it all on YouTube. My handle is Googly Lessons. So that's Google with a Y and then Lessons. You can find it on YouTube. My personal social at Aaron Goldman on most of the social platforms. That's Aaron if you're a Key and Peele fan, and Goldman sounds spelled like it sounds. The company is at Team Mediaocean and Mediaocean.com for the website.
Awesome. Well, I'll add all those links to the show notes so people can find you nice and easy. You've really blown me away there with an impromptu rap, man. I just give you 3 words and within seconds you had something for me, which is amazing. But just love learning more about the golden quarter, the golden crunch, the role of technology and data and marketing and the work that you're doing there. And also, I was going to say, wrapping it all up quite literally with your origin story. So thanks again, Aaron.
Thank you, Neil.
Wow, we really covered it all there, didn't we? From how Mediaocean is connecting brands, agencies, media, technology and data, a tech origin story, and even a rap, which is a first here on Tech Talks Daily. If you have any questions, insights or experiences you want to share, or even a response rap video, whatever it is, I'm open to anything and I'm the easiest guy in the world to find. Just get me at techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram at Neil C. Hughes. We'll keep this conversation going. And I also invite you to join me again tomorrow where we've already got another guest lined up. More on that story later. So a big thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.